What's going on, guys? It's B-Mails. The NFL preseason is finally here. And after a debacle in the Hall of Fame game, getting it canceled because of the paint, we finally got our first taste of NFL football in months. And the only game I could really watch was on NFL Network. It was the New Orleans Saints versus the New England Patriots. And it was probably the game that I would have wanted to watch out of all the games that went on yesterday. Probably except for watching Carson Wentz play. But anyways, New Orleans Saints versus New England Patriots. Let's talk about it. Before I start, though, I followed this game heavily, writing down notes through the first 2.5 quarters about, and then after that I kind of just eyeballed it because it got a little too tedious. It wasn't really fun anymore to watch the game, being so tedious, play-by-play, rewinding, and things like that. But this is what I have, guys. Well, let's start with the quarterbacks. Drew Brees, 1-for-1 on a beautiful throw to Brandon Cooks. I mean, Drew Brees looked great on the one throw that he threw. I know it's only one throw, but he looked good. It was an amazing throw to Brandon Cooks down the sideline. Luke McCown came in late in the game. He had a great drive going against the Patriots, but he threw a pick in the end zone. Wide receiver Michael Thomas didn't really fight back to the ball. And if it were me, I would have committed pass interference to prevent the interception because it wouldn't have put them out of field goal range, and they would have still had the ball. So a little disappointing in, I think, rookie Michael Thomas. But it was a bad throw by Luke McCown. Luke McCown also had a fumble, but other than that, it was a decent day. Touchdown, 67% completion. It was decent. Garrett Grayson came in right after Drew Brees, and he, to me, guys, outperformed Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he had an interception, but that interception bounced off the chest of wide receiver Brandon Coleman, who was a big disappointment last night. And if you take that interception away, he gets a passer rating of 94.6, 67% completion, and 133 yards. And he made a lot of good decisions running through progressions. He had a great play where he made 2 pass rushers miss. He rolled out. He was keeping his eyes downfield. No one was open, and he threw the ball away. That's an NFL play right there. It was, one of the more underrated plays of the night. And he had a great throw to Michael Thomas on a, not a deep fade, but a mid-level fade. It was kind of a back shoulder. I couldn't really tell if it was back shoulder or if it was underthrown. But Thomas got the completion. It was a great catch. I think Bill Belichick challenged this and to say that his feet were out of bounds, which they were. But for some reason, the officials said his feet were in bounds. I don't know how they got that. So overall, Garrett Grayson had a pretty good game. And like I said, to me, he outperformed Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's talk about Garoppolo. To me, the biggest thing that popped out when it came to Jimmy was there were not a lot of NFL-level throws. A lot of dink and dunks, a lot of screens, a lot of zone sit routes. So not a lot of difficult throws, not really pushing his limits this game at all. I mean, all of Martellus Bennett's receptions were uncovered crossing routes or a poorly covered out route, where Jimmy threw behind him, and he was lucky that it wasn't intercepted. He was pressured almost every throw. I'll give him that. Not almost every throw, but he was pressured a lot. But when he threw off balance and way off target. I mean, there were a lot of sloppy throws, and many of his completions were screens, like I said. He really only had, in the entirety of the half that he played, he only had 2 NFL-level throws, both to Malcolm Mitchell, who played very well. We'll get to him. On a comeback route, which is a great route and a great throw, real NFL, NFL-level throw. And then you talk about a zone curl where Malcolm Mitchell sat between 2 mid-level zones, and they were on the same page, and they got the reception. Those were the only 2 NFL-level throws that I saw, neither of which were overly impressive, but, were impressive nonetheless. But a thing I will give to Garoppolo, he didn't play with Amendola, Edelman, or Gronk. He'll have them during the season. But I did like the chemistry between him and Malcolm Mitchell, even though Malcolm Mitchell got hurt. We'll talk about that later. But a lot of risky throws for a Patriots team that needs a game-managing quarterback. I mean, he had a throw where he rolled left under pressure, and he threw, behind him. I think the announcers were saying he threw across his body, but it's not really across his body. He was rolling left and threw to the right side of the field, which is a big no-no. And it should have been picked off. So he really should have had probably 2, maybe even 3 interceptions in this game. So the stats kind of overrate him a little bit. And then Jacoby Brissett came in. I mean, this dude has a live arm. He has a cannon, but that seemed to be the only thing he had last night. A lot of inaccurate throws, a lot of poor reads, dangerous throws. Definitely no NFL level throws, and ended the game with 54% completion and three balls, not one, not two, but 3 balls that to me should have been intercepted if he had good DBs out there. All right, that's the quarterback. So let's get to the receivers and tight ends. The Saints didn't really look that impressive. The only impressive guy out there was rookie Michael Thomas. Had quite a few good plays. Lewis looked decent. He showed a couple flashes, but the tight ends were almost non-existent. I mean, kind of worried about the number of weapons Drew Brees will have, but we know Drew Brees will show up this year with Brandon Cooks as probably his only weapon, maybe with Michael Thomas. But I'm questioning the number of weapons the Saints will have. Let's get to the Patriots. Martellus Bennett looked decent. I mean, 3 easy receptions. He made the receptions. Actually, one of the receptions was that out route that was thrown behind him that he stole away from the defender. That was a good catch. But other than that, nothing really overly impressive, except that he blocked very well in the run game, sealed off a lot of blockers on the edge to give the inside run to the running back. And then you're talking about the biggest, weapon to me on both of these teams was Malcolm Mitchell. He was only in the game long enough to get 4 receptions, but he played outstanding. I mean, NFL level routes, finding the openings in the zones, comeback routes. I mean, he ran a lot of NFL level routes, getting open. Yards after catch were great. Great catches. I mean, he may have been the new wideout for the Patriots. They have Amendola and Edelman, who are mostly slot receivers, and they've had a problem finding a true wide receiver. And to me, that probably would have ended up being Malcolm Mitchell if he kept playing the way he's playing in the preseason. But he ended up getting hurt when he bent his elbow awkwardly when he was falling. So that was a little disappointing. But we'll see if how bad his injury. I haven't really looked it up, to be honest with you. And then, you had Dobson and Derby who contributed and looked good. And other than that, that's really it. Let's get to the running backs. Mark Ingram's stats don't look good from this game, but he played in all short yardage situations, and he played very well besides the fumble. But he played in a lot of goal line situations, and he played very well to me. He looked a lot like what he looked like last year. Then they brought in Tim Hightower, who played awful. He didn't get very good blocking, but, this guy is not the most athletic, not the most shifty, didn't make any plays for himself. When he got the ball in the passing game, he did nothing with it. But my favorite guy was Marcus Murphy. I mean, it seemed like the entire time he was in the game, he was contributing. It started when he was the punt and kick returner. He had 3 very impressive returns, 1 long return, I think 1 medium, I guess you would call it mid-level return. I mean, he got a good yardage off of it, but it wasn't like a 50-yard run or anything. And then he had 1 where he made he only got like 3 or 4 yards off the return, but he made literally 4 or 5 people miss. I mean, and he made them miss badly. So it looks like he could be the new punt and kick returner. But he also contributed well running the ball. He didn't have very many holes, but when they were there, he hit them and he was making people miss. And then he contributed pretty well in the passing game too. I think he's he won't be the new Darren Sproles or anything like that. But it looked like a lot of Darren Sproles, a special teams guy that can contribute in the return game, and he can play well in the pass game. And Marcus Murphy can also run the ball, it seems, but this is only 1 game, so we'll see. With the Patriots, I mean, these running backs played well. And Blunt's stats didn't look good, but, when he had the hole, he hit it hard, and he was bringing people with him. He didn't get very good holes. There was one play where, you could see his mind. He looked in the A gap. It was stuffed. And then he moved a little to the left, looked at the B gap. It was stuffed. He moved a little to the left into the gap between the tackle and the tight end. It was stuffed. And he kept going to the edge, and then he ran into a linebacker. He didn't have a whole lot to work with. We'll get to the offensive lines in a second. But White and Bolden looked outstanding in the run game and the pass game. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to get cut out of this backfield. A lot of people, I think, were saying that Bolden was going to get cut, or was like on the danger list of being cut. But to me, they looked very good. They were very explosive, very productive. So it's going to be interesting how that works out over the preseason. So overall, the Patriots running backs played well. And so let's get to the offensive lines. Both teams' quarterbacks were under duress for the most part of the game. But when they had clean pockets, the quarterbacks played well. So, but the Saints offensive line could not open holes up in the running game to save their careers. I mean, they looked awful. I know they're playing a great defense in the Patriots, but they could not get holes open. And the Patriots offensive line were inconsistent in the running game. One play they would have gaping holes, and then on some plays they were nowhere for the running backs to go. One guy that I'd like to point out, Nate Soldier, he played pretty awful. I mean, from the third snap of the game, he gave up a sack, and then after that, he was not impressive at all. So it's going to be interesting if he can get all the rust off of him and see if he can get back to where he was before his injury. Now let's get to the defense. For the Saints, it wasn't a very good day for the defense to me. Not really any flashy plays or flashy players to me. When you talk about linebacker Kasim Adebali, I mean, I've never heard of this guy, but he got 2 pressures, 2 sacks, and 2 hits. He played great. I mean, he was the guy to me that was, popping off the screen on this defense. But there were no other sacks on this defense. A couple guys got pressures. I mean, Nick Fairley played okay, decent game in terms of pressuring the quarterback, but not a lot of playmakers on this defense in this game. But rookie Sheldon Rankins, he played pretty well. He got a hit, a hurry, and he had a play where he ran down a screen. He dissected the play, and he ran down and got the tackle on the screen. He played pretty well. So that's something the Saints could be excited about, is that their rookie is working out so far. So, to the Patriots, the defense played outstanding. I mean, you look at the score, you would probably say they didn't. But their offense put them in a couple bad situations, and they gave up a couple big plays. But, to me, the player of the game was Trey Flowers. You're talking 3 pressures, a quarterback hit, and a sack. This guy was on a tear the entire time that he was in the game. You're talking about Jabal Sheard, who played well. He had a forced fumble and was wreaking havoc on the offensive line. The offensive line didn't know what to do with Jabal Sheard. And then you talk about Chris Long in the second quarter. He was dominant, guys. He pressured on almost every pass play. He didn't finish any of them, but he was making a difference in this team, and I think that is something to be excited about, especially because Rob Ninkovich is out. So the fact that Trey Flowers and Chris Long are playing well is a good thing. Another guy that played well while he was in was Jamie Collins, showing that he's the dominant athlete on the play. Even Dante Hightower came in and played well. Even I think it was Shia McClellan. I don't remember, but he played pretty well too. So overall, in this game, it was an okay game to watch. It's interesting to see how all these guys like Garoppolo, who is going to play. He played okay, but overall, the Patriots were clearly the better team, clearly the better coach team. A lot more talent on their team, so not sure if the Saints are going to make any splashes this year based off of only this preseason game. But their defense, it wasn't non-existent, but there were definitely no star players on defense by any means. Patriots players were there, obviously. Belichick had that defense ready to go. Both teams' offensive lines weren't very good. And then overall, the Patriots were the better team. That's really what it comes down to. The Patriots had the better roster. They were better coached. Of course, Bill Belichick is going to come in and have his guys ready. So tell me what you guys think. Tell me if there was anybody that popped out to you, anybody that you're excited about. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe below for more. And I'll see you guys next time.